Hello everyone. As you can see from the empty clothing rack here, I have transported some of my goods to a new property. I am moving, if you will. After being rehired just last year, after a 4-year stint before that, Greg Berhalter was tasked with the job of preparing the US for Copa America. Things went off to a terrible start with the US losing 5-1 to Colombia in a friendly, but at least they bounced back to draw with Brazil. Then came the task of Copa America itself. Berhalter and his men failed miserably, and after a shocking loss to Panama, it was pretty much over. However, after a week of speculation surrounding Berhalter's job, it finally happened.
Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed
Greg Berhalter.
And now, for the first time in over 5 goddamn years, US soccer was on the hunt for a coach. And this time, it would somehow not be Greg Berhalter. Right off the bat, the list of potential candidates had some star-studded names. Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, Graham Potter, Thomas Frank, Gareth Southgate. Yes, Gareth was unironically an option. In particular, though, there were multiple meetings with Jurgen Klopp, but he needed a break from the game to exude worldwide soccer dad energy. Most of the other options, no chance, mainly because of the contracts with their clubs. That wasn't the case, however, for Mauricio Pochettino, who had just left Chelsea. Pochettino was reportedly interested in coaching one of the host teams at the next World Cup, especially the US, which fit his profile of a team with tons of promising and young talent that had underachieved significantly at this point. Talks at the beginning seemed positive. Maybe too positive. The first meeting with Pochettino was supposed to be just 90 minutes, but I guess everyone was kicking their feet and giggling because this went on for 4 hours. What also really helped was US women's team coach Emma Hayes being heavily involved. Hayes and Poch had become friends at Chelsea while she was in charge of the women's team there. She even called Poch to tell him about her experiences with her team in an effort to vouch for the men's team. But there was still a lot of work to do, in particular, the money situation. Getting Pochettino meant the US had to find a way to fund one of the world's most expensive coaches. So in came billionaire Ken Griffin. A piece of shit. But a useful piece of shit. Ken Griffin has a special connection to football. He grew up playing it, and he had financially supported initiatives to build 50 mini pitches in Chicago and another 50 in Miami. So it was pretty easy for the Federation to convince him to donate a significant amount of money. However, there was another issue that was holding back the deal. Chelsea. Poch was still under contract with Chelsea despite agreeing to part ways with them. He was owed a pretty large sum of money, and had he taken another job, all that money owed would become void. So to work around this, negotiations were done, and an agreement was made that would see Chelsea pay what they owed minus the salary US Soccer Federation was providing. So Poch would get his money, and Chelsea would be able to save some money to buy another 17-year-old talent that they'll never use and sell after 2 years. Perfect. And then finally, after a few more weeks of discussion and the goalpost moving about 300 times, Mauricio Pochettino was announced as the new head coach of the US men's team. Let's briefly now go over Poch's CV. As a player, he was a center back at clubs that included Espanyol, Bordeaux when they weren't owned by borderline psychopaths, and PSG. He won 2 Copa del Reys with Espanyol and an Intertoto Cup with the Parisians. Then after retiring, he studied for a master's degree in sports business and then trained to become a coach while in Madrid. Poch's first stint as a head coach was at Espanyol. He saved the club from relegation in his debut season, but then his tenure came to an end in 2012 when he was sacked with the club sitting last and him complaining about financial restrictions. Despite his sacking though, his work was praised and clubs were starting to take notice. One of the key aspects of his philosophy was a high importance on youth, so much so that he'd actually attend training sessions at every single level. And tactically, he focused on a high-pressing system. His next move saw him cross the seas to coach Southampton in January 2013. He recorded his first victory with a 3-1 win against Manchester City in February, and he also beat Liverpool and Chelsea. And then in his first and only full season, he led Southampton to an 8th place finish, their best finish since 2003. He then departed to North London to coach Tottenham at the beginning of the 2014-15 season. At the time, Spurs were going through a managerial situation similar to that of a Southeast Asian national team. Poch was the 10th manager over a 12-year span, and fortunately for Spurs, he was the beginning of a brand new era. He took a young team struggling for any semblance of any identity back to relevance. 2 third-place finishes, a runners-up finish in 2016-17 when they had the best attack and the best defense, and not only did he lead the team back to the Champions League in his second season, he brought them to a Champions League final in just 5 seasons after Ajax outbottled them somehow. Spurs lost that final, however, and after suffering a brutal post-Champions League slump, Poch was fired. However, yet again, his influence could not be undermined. He had a significant impact on the careers of multiple young players during his tenure. Dele Alli, Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, Kyle Walker. One could even say opting for Kane in 2015 over Soldado was what started Spurs' most successful period in the modern Premier League. Poch was then appointed by PSG in January of 2021. He guided a team with Verratti, Marquinhos, Neymar, and Mbappe to a Champions League semi. However, the team did lose the league title to Lille. Then Messi came in, and the clown show began. Poch managed to lead the team to a league championship, but the team also lost in the Trophée des Champions, were eliminated by Nice in the last 16 of the Coupe de France, and then PSG was eliminated in the last 16 of the Champions League after masterfully bottling the second leg. As a result, Poch was sacked at the end of the season. He was then hired by Chelsea for the 2023-24 season, and he managed to do the best he could with an NFL roster of a team. He led the Blues to a League Cup final and a 6th place finish in the league. He also oversaw another young talent in Cole Palmer become the league's biggest breakout star. However, the club didn't stand for literally any of his ideals he stood for, and he left. Truly masterful work from the board. Pick a coach they'd hate, and pay him millions. And now Mauricio Pochettino creates a new chapter, and becomes the most prominent figure to ever manage the US men's team. A close second being Bruce Arians. Most definitely will be playing much better football. He's mentioned he wants the team to play attractive attacking football through the middle, and that would be great for our technical players in the midfield, who before just kind of felt like they were there. But that was mainly because under BERHALTER, we just drift towards the wing and pray in the name of verticality. It'll be really interesting though to see how Mauricio Pochettino utilizes some of our midfielders. Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna, even Luca de la Torre. I will say though, his defensive record hasn't been great as of late. To be fair, I wouldn't really rate the Chelsea backline. I also wouldn't really rate the PSG backline either. But that said, also our backline isn't really that good, so it's just a little concerning. Another criticism I've heard is his time at PSG, but I wouldn't really think too much of it. As a professional PSG hater like myself, I have seen this team go through a whole decade without having more than one competent midfielder. It's one thing to say Poch failed with a front three of Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, but it's another to say that he failed with a team that didn't have an actual midfield to create chances consistently. Now, one of the reasons why Poch chose us was because we have a young core of exciting talents, as we mentioned before, and he's transformed many young talents, which just makes me think that he's the perfect fit. Because the core of this US team has just 2 players above the age of 30. Believe it or not. Right now, this team is in desperate need of some kind of leadership. I know people will make excuses that they should also be motivated themselves, but let's look at the case of the Canadian national team for a second. Canada's national team used to be seen by players as just basically a little holiday, a little break. But then, in came John Herdman, the guy that's allegedly behind some of the, drones. But that said, John Herdman took a team that didn't care whatsoever about national team football to a team that finished first in their qualifying group. Don't look at how they did in the World Cup. So going back to Mauricio Pochettino, sure, the players should be motivated more. Sure, they should have more passion. But you need a leader. This team doesn't have a leader. This team only has 2 players, remember, that are above the age of 30. They need someone, and Mauricio Pochettino is perfect for this role. To finish off this video, I want to quickly talk about the weird switch from the media, because let me tell you, it's been very interesting to watch.
You get Pochettino in, you start winning a little bit, you go on the road, you beat Mexico, the team starts to come together, the conversation changes, but that's the reality.
Well,
this is it's a results-based business, and we need to get it done now.
I've been noticing how the media has been kind of switching up a little bit and saying, this is a results-based business. Where was this for the last 4-5 years? Where? Because I could have sworn all I heard during Berhalter's tenure was, oh, he just needs some time. Oh, the culture is more important than the results.
So I completely forgot to add this part in the video, and I felt like it was pretty necessary to do so. We need to talk about the bottling allegations. One of the main concerns, whether it's on the US side or other teams making fun of this signing, is the fact that Mauricio Pochettino has a tendency to bottle. Or at least it seems like it. I'll give you a couple examples. There was the time Spurs bottled a 2-horse race by finishing 3rd. That's I would say, a prime example, but that was also back in 2016. Just in general, though, between the mid-2010s to late 2010s, Spurs had this issue where they would just kind of crumble anytime there was just a tiny bit of pressure to win. That's most of the stuff that I can think of for Spurs. Going back to PSG, though, I'm actually going to argue in Poch's favor here, because I'm serious. What is a manager supposed to do in this situation? Chelsea, though, there's no excuse. Losing to Liverpool's primary school 11, yeah, nah, you deserve the $1 billion bottle jobs tag for that. I'd definitely be wary of Poch's tendency to choke, especially since he's once again working with a young and inexperienced team. And in the history of Poch's bottling, it is usually with a young and inexperienced team. But listen, okay, at the end of the day, I just want to see him rile up the team and inspire them, okay? I've gone through 5 years of Greg Berhalter. There are far bigger issues to solve before we get to the topic of bottling.
But what do you guys think? Do you think Mauricio Pochettino is the quote-unquote perfect fit? Or do you think someone else should have been in charge? Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, any of those kinds of delusions? Let me know in the comments below. Of course, though, a massive shout out to all our members, including Janos Baras,
Chupas,
Brazilian Fury, Respect the Jeff, Othman JN, Habakkuk,
Jeremiah Owusu Ajiman,
Anazir Makalancom, Alex Rod, Ulta, Miguel Munoz, Return Fire, Rory Burns, Slider Kit, Sniffrix, Takuoka Fan, The Cypriot 35, Not Windows 95 Man, Ketra Gatra, Big Boris the Baby Eater II, Kerbo, Ungwell, St. Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Ryan Jans, Wise Orange, Rashford Enthusiast, Cocosaurus Rex, LeJames Bronze, Samu, Just MRC, Cheesebait, Cooper Rory, The Somali Pirate, Claymore Roomba, Winter Gel, and For Dusta, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davox, The Portugeiser, TPSK25, Polar Protos, Van Fan, Lucian Von Croix, Ethan Bennett Loves Kavicha, Gazegers Bresciakiewicz, Manotango Fay, Adrian, A Ghostly Owl, Coney Wolves, Matanai, Nava, Chris Visconti, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Kress, Mohammed Altanib, Niche, Patrick Barley, Rashford God 5, Raspberry Ale, subscribe to 10 Day Tim, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to become a member on the channel, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow my Twitch. Gonna be doing a stream pretty soon, actually gonna be doing a charity stream soon. I'll get you guys the information on that later on. But until then, I'll see you guys.